In the year 2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
Boom. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Project Freedom Podcast. Here to spread the gospel of John McAfee. Don't worry, guys. We're going to spread it tonight for sure. I'm Josh, otherwise known as Eat Live Program. And let's just get right into it, fellas. What is DeFi? Is obviously the reason why you clicked on the title of this video. Guys, I actually have some handwritten notes tonight as opposed to notes on a text editor on my computer. So I wanted to talk about DeFi. First and foremost, what it is, because if you're watching this and you don't know what it is, I'm going to kind of explain that. Secondly, the things that DeFi does, the characteristics of what makes something DeFi. And if you guys don't know, by the way, DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance. Yes, that's right. You heard it here first, folks. Decentralized Finance. Woo! Flashy buzzwords, right? And also, guys, let me know how the lighting is in here, because I'm trying something new with my lights yet again. The only issue, guys, I can actually set the lighting up really good in here, but it gets super annoying on this desk because I have to mount them somewhere. And so I either have to immediately take them off or just like leave them up there, which I can't. Like I can't just leave them there because I have no room on my desk to do work when I'm actually doing work. Because believe it or not, guys, when I'm not doing the podcast, I'm actually doing work throughout the day on this exact desk. So if you guys can see behind my neck right here, back there. So if I move, you guys can kind of see some like reflection of one of these lights right here. So, which usually is not a problem because it's actually like right here and you guys can never really see it. But the way that I have it positioned is quite annoying. So I guess I'll have to like freeze myself in this area right here, right now. It looks good, Kyle. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, Kyle had the reflector. I found a perfect place to put the reflector at, like Kyle. Like I literally have a hook underneath the desk. Well, you know what, dude? I'll just send you a picture after the show. Cody Moose and Who says only rugs. Yes. You guys want me to make some of those shirts or what? I already have to make some of them for some people specifically, but if I actually make some of those shirts, do you guys want to buy them? If I make them and let's just say basically make them the same exact price that it costs for them to get made and charge that to you guys, I'll probably be at a loss at. Do you guys want some of those? Let me know. I'll put an option up on my site or something. Claybuster and Hoos, Cody Moose. What's up, Clay? Trying to snipe some crypto bombs and figure out some DApp stuff, but nothing too crazy. Max Nitas in the house is everything I know about DeFi, I learned from a llama. Yes. Yes, indeed. Learn from a llama. In fact, why don't we go ahead and share this right here? And if you're watching this and you don't even know what DeFi is yet, this might make no sense at all. But anyway, guys, look at all the TVL or total value locked for you people out there that are new that's left DeFi in the last 7 days. And which one of these was hit the hardest? I mean, Terra Luna, 17% on Solana. I mean, that's probably the one that got hit the hardest out of the bigger ones, right, guys? Ronin, I ain't even be messing with that dough. You guys saw this though in the last 7 days. Kusama is up 31,503%. Sorry, not Kusama. Dot. Pretty crazy. But that is what Max Nitas meant by everything he learned about DeFi is from a llama. You guys can check that website out, DeFi Llama, if you want. Tom Dog Sama says, is something even DeFi when whales exist holding a majority? Good point. Good question. Like, okay, so I guess, and obviously we're going to get into this tonight, guys, right? I guess the whole purpose of DeFi, not the whole purpose, one purpose of DeFi is to kind of like make finances more fair and more available to the average Joe, right? And actually not even the average Joe, just like somebody like if you're somebody in Africa and you don't even have access to a bank account, you can't take out a loan for sure, right? So I would still say that it does that. Now, does like a majority centralized entity still remain in control? Well, the thing is, I would say yes, Tom, Mr. Tom Dog Sama, because the whales can't, like, if you go to a bank and you say, hey, I want to take a loan, the bank's like, no, we're not going to give you this loan. Or the bank, based off your credit score, or the bank is just like, we shouldn't be giving out loans right now, so we're not going to give it out to you. We're only going to give them out to our premium customers. DeFi you don't have that problem with DeFi because it's just code, right? As long as you meet the criteria for taking in a loan in DeFi, you can do so, right? So I would still say yes. Now, in regards to like asset prices, no, maybe not, but you could take out a loan in stable coins and you probably wouldn't be affected, right? LMAO, that video, the one that I posted in the link in the chat. Wade Emery says another good Monday. Yeah, it was a good Monday. It was a long and stressful Monday. You guys can see I'm starting to develop wrinkles in my forehead over here from too much 1 minute candle trading. I should probably stop doing that or else I might die early. Christian Soto, 1 to 3 in the house, is good evening. Fancy notes. Yes, big brain move right there. DeFi, says Tom RKBA. Wrong color shirt. I just see arms and face. That's the purpose, dude. I'm trying to blend in with the background over here. Lights looking very homey, like you're about to bust out a pipe in front of a fireplace. That actually sounds really nice, dude. That actually sounds really nice. I would love to do that right now. Tom says, sure. Blood on the streets, yes, indeed. Yeah, get the smoking jacket and pipe out. Good explanation of that part, says Tom. Thank you. I mean, you can still argue that like that it's not, that the price is not decentralized with like some things, but like, you know, like you can still and that's not the only thing that you can still do that's not prevented. So all right, let's get right into it, guys. First and foremost, what is DeFi? DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance. Okay. In the past, we've always had what we call now Centralized Finance. And that is, you could kind of give the characteristics of something that's centralized or a centralized financial entity is when there's a central entity or several of them that controls the flow of money. All right. So Tom asked, is it up here when he said, is it really decentralized if there's whales? Yes, because the whales can't stop smart contracts or do things like that from executing, right? They can't stop smart contracts from working. They also can't stop smart contracts from allowing you to like change currencies, right? And what are some of those centralized entities? Well, really, it's just government and banks, right? Now, they don't really say that they control the flow of money, but they do. In fact, if you ask them, they would say that we don't. They don't, but you guys know they do, right? They can print money, right? Whatever they want. They can stop you from banking if they want to. They can just like shut your bank account down or off if they really want to. And they can even actually stop you guys from opening up bank account ever again in that country. Or let's just say it's like a big bank like Chase Bank. They have full ability to do that, right? And another problem. So that's the biggest problem, right, guys? That's the biggest problem. I would say that's probably like good of enough reasoning right there to kind of like have the creation of DeFi. But what else is a problem with centralized finance? It's really expensive. Now, you guys might be thinking, and I was thinking this myself, like if you're going to do a swap on a DEX like Ethereum, you might be paying like, $1,000 a day in gas fees if you sat there and did like 3 or 4 trades. But there are layer 2s and there are other EVM compatible chains. So that doesn't really that's not even really a non-issue. So if you're trading on Ethereum it's because you want to, and it's because you have to, or because it's your fault, right? And now I just feel bad at myself for today. But anyway, taking out, in the regards to taking out loans, so like controlling the flow of money, credit cards, credit card percent rates, APRs, and basically the amount of money that you have to return on top of what you borrowed can be like 25. Like, what's the highest credit card percentage, guys, you guys can think of? I don't know, maybe like 35%. It's pretty high, right? So for something that you're supposed to use on a daily basis in order to like accrue points, if you happen to not pay it back in the time frame because something happened, you owe like 35% on top of that, which is a lot. Personal loans can like, I mean, 18% for a personal loan is not like uncommon. I don't really know. I've never taken out a quote unquote personal loan in my life, so I don't really know the reasoning why you do that, unless it's maybe for like something for like a house repair or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, people do take them frequently. Payday loans, something I've never also dabbled with before, but I've heard that you can get charged like 50% interest rate for a payday loan. So it's expensive, right? It is indeed expensive, my friends. So on to the next page notes that I have over here. So with decentralized finance, there's no banks, guys, right? And how can that be done, you might ask? And that's because instead of a banks with people inside of it or a government, we have literal pieces of code that are used to replace this middleman in the process, okay? And it's good because it doesn't require you to trust the bank. Because you know what, guys, in actuality, if you give your money to a bank, that requires you to trust the bank and not doing something bad with your money or not losing your money or whatever you could imagine that banks do. You don't have to trust this code because it's code. Like, it just executes and does its function. That's it. And one could argue, well, but what if I don't know what their code looks like? Well, the good thing is that if you want to go and audit their code and look at it, if it's on one of these networks, it's open source. So you're welcome to do that. You're free and welcome to go and do that. A lot of people aren't developers and don't write code. So if they read it, it might not be beneficial to them, but there are frequently audits done. There's lots of money in audits. In fact, there's even money for things called bounties, and these protocols will actually like put out X amount of like dollar reserve value of whatever digital asset, or maybe it's even actual dollars that they pay some people sometimes. Very rare, but it's usually like some kind of token or coin. And they have what's called a bounty, and they either have an open bounty for someone to be able to find something wrong with their code, or they already have an error in their code, and they're basically looking for a white hat hacker to come and fix it, or at least to tell them where there's an error in their code. Okay. Went off a little tangent there, but the point is, you don't have to trust these things because they're code. They're literal code. They're not going to like be biased in one way, shape, or the other and try to like sway you into doing something different or prevent you from taking out a loan or doing something because they don't like your skin color or the way that your name is spelled. All right. Whatever. Insert reason here. Okay. Decentralized finance is also what is known as censorship resistant. And that's pretty much because of the blockchain. We'll get into that in a second. But let's just say, well, back to the part where your bank, where I said the government of the bank can just prevent you from having a bank account ever again. That's not censorship resistant, right? That's you getting censored. So smart contract isn't going to censor you. It's just code. In fact, it doesn't even know who you are. It just knows your address, right? It's also cheaper, and specifically cheaper in paying back the aforementioned loans that we were just talking about, okay? By like an insane amount. Like, you can go, some platforms, you can go and take out a loan on like Ethereum, and they charge you 0% interest rate. Shit you not. They charge you no money to borrow your Ethereum. In fact, they probably most likely like that you, if you were to get margin called, they would probably prefer that you didn't go and pay your loan off and that you would just let them have your Ethereum at least a couple months down the line. So that is the characteristics that differentiate DeFi from centralized finance. Now, DeFi is built on Three main things. Okay, guys, three main things. Cryptography, the blockchain, and smart contracts. So if you guys don't know what smart contracts or the blockchain is, go to one of my like 30,000 different videos in my channel and check that out. But I'm just going to assume that you guys understand what all that is, including cryptography, and we're going to go forward. All right. So they have what is called the 5 pillars of DeFi, and these are really just so far the 5 things that DeFi does. Okay. The 5 biggest contributions to the world that DeFi does. First and foremost, stablecoins. And I would say that this is probably the most important one. And what is a stablecoin? And you guys probably already know what stablecoins are, but I'll go ahead and explain because it's part of those 5. They kind of act as a bridge from that centralized finance to the decentralized finance. So from the current financial institutional realm into Web3, which is where all this stuff is hosted at, all right? And all stablecoins are just a cryptocurrency or a digital asset. And I hate saying that word cryptocurrency, but a digital asset that's pegged 1-to-1 to 1 United States dollar. All right. Now they have other stablecoins that are pegged to like other currencies, but people don't really use them very much. For example, 1 USDC made by Circle, and you know what? We can actually look at Circle's website. Why don't we do that? Is always going to be equal to 1 US dollar. Okay. All right, fellas. Okay. It says the world's first digital stablecoin. I don't believe that. Circle. Don't lie, Circle. Don't lie, Circle. All right. You guys can see the screen. All right. So if you go to circle.com, USDC, the world's leading digital dollar stablecoin. They have 43.5 billion USDC in circulation. I can't believe there's that much. Transferred on-chain total. So that's how much money has been transferred with USDC on-chain. Yada, yada, yada. Transparent, blah, 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 blah. So this company... And this is kind of like, this is kind of argumentative here. Some people are like very afraid of stablecoins and the fact that they could potentially bring us to some sort of like awful nuclear ending of cryptocurrency. But I mean, Circle itself, they're a company. So Circle itself is centralized, but their assets are out there in existence in the circulation. Now there's things like USDT, which is also centralized, but also stablecoin. UST, Terra, which is a decentralized, it's kind of like a decentralized like reserve bank, essentially. All done with code. We won't have to get into the discussion of that tonight. I guess maybe I might do an episode about that. In fact, you know what? Let me do one. It kind of explains Terra and like UST/mem/DAI episode. Explanation, because that was just smart contracts and it just did its job. All right. Now, obviously, someone had to pour money into it, but there's no company that owns that. They're just out there in existence. Okay. DAI, and then MIM, which stands for Magic Internet Money. That's my favorite stablecoin now, fellas. Sorry if you don't like it. It is my total favorite. But anyway, their price is one of them is always going to equal $1. All right. Now, sometimes that might be like 0.5% less than $1 or 0.5% more than $1. And that's based off of just simple supply and demand. But arbitrage is done regularly. And I think we're actually I think somewhere in here, supposed to talk about arbitrage briefly. Yeah. So we'll explain that in a second if you don't know what the fuck that means. But anyway, now you might be thinking, well, why don't I just use dollar? That's a good question. It's a good question, my friend, that you asked that. I'm glad that you guys asked that question. Since their price is always pegged to $1 and they kind of act as that bridge. So once you have these, you no longer have to go in and out of a centralized exchange. And what is a centralized exchange? Well, that's just a central entity that sells or buys or trades cryptocurrency. It's like a broker, right? Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, Gemini, KuCoin, Gate.io, Bybit, I mean, whatever, right? These are companies that created these platforms. And basically, here's a good analogy. So like, let's just say you bought one Bitcoin at $5,000, okay? And in order for you to do that, you had to link your bank account to the centralized exchange. they had to withdraw cash from bank account, which might have taken 5 days for them to do. And then you finally own that Bitcoin, right? You have it in your custody. Now, and actually, let's just use Ethereum. So let's just say you bought one Ethereum for $5,000. All right, you bought X amount of Ethereum. You bought 2 Ethereum for $5,000. Now, if the price of Ethereum goes up like a substantial amount, and so now each Ethereum costs like $4,000, and so you now have $8,000, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. I should take some money off the table. I should sell some of it, and then maybe the price will go down. I'll buy back later. But I made good money investing in this, so maybe I want to just take some off the table. Maybe I want to sell half of that. So if you want to do that traditionally, you'd have to go send that back to your exchange, or maybe it's already on your exchange. Put that back in your exchange, and then sell it, trade it to them for US dollars. And then you have to wait on them to deposit that to your bank, which might take like 3 or 4 days, right? Whoever knows how long. And also, like your bank, and if you guys never had a problem with this before, like banks usually don't like when crypto exchanges or any of those big exchanges go and deposit things in your bank account unless you have a history with them. In fact, I know people who have had their bank accounts fucking closed because they've deposited money. They've had money deposited from one of these exchanges into their bank account, right? So you have to wait and do all that. And let's just say in the process of doing that, like maybe the price goes up really quick, and then you can't immediately buy back in or do something with that because now like your money is like frozen in other people's hands, who you have to trust, by the way. You have to trust that they're going to be doing what you want them to do with your money because you're not doing it yourself. And you'd have to wait extra days for them to put that back into your exchange and then buy it again, right? These allow you to, instead of like selling things, you can actually trade, or really you're just exchanging things on the blockchain. On-chain, we'll just say on-chain, but really in a decentralized exchange. And that's actually number 3, but we need to get to number 2 first. So that was stablecoins, first and foremost. Like it kind of bridges the gap between the real world and the blockchain. One of the Tether, when Tether first came out, one of the most important reasons for it was like people were so happy and excited about it. See, back then I didn't even care about like any of that stuff. I just knew that there was this one thing, or these like 2 or 3 things that were used as payments for places. And I was like, in my mind, why would you make a crypto that equals $1? But it was important back then because like when the price would drop in like, let's just say Bitcoin, because that's kind of like the real reason why Tether was made. People, like everyone would have to like exit the market, or they would exit the market and they just wouldn't come back, and that money would just go away. It kind of allowed the market to be more self-sustainable. Like now it has its own ebbs and flows, just like the stock market or the real estate market or anything else. All right. I don't know why I clicked your thing, Tom. So next on the list, number 2, lending and borrowing. Okay, fellas, lending and borrowing, because we're just talking about it. So smart contracts allow users to borrow funds in the form of a loan without third-party interference, like a bank. So like I said earlier, a bank can deny you of a loan. Smart contracts can't, as long as you have what they require you to give to get the loan. Smart contracts, most of these loans, all of them pretty much require collateral. Like you can't just give, like in a traditional loan, if you want to go buy take a home loan out, they usually require like 20% down or something like that. Right, fellas? The way that these work, in order for them to incentivize you giving your 20%, like let's just say you want to borrow $100,000, you just give them $20,000 and taking the $80,000 running away, because in the blockchain, we have anonymity, right? So anybody could just take that loan and just run away and not go pay it back, right? So what decentralizes people into not doing that? You usually, if you want to borrow $100,000, you usually have to give up 4 times as much. It's full collateralization, right? That way, you know that they're going to pay it back because they're going to want their assets back, right? So, and you might ask, if you have that money, why would you want to take a loan on it? Well, what if you just had like a bunch of like Ethereum or Bitcoin, and you didn't want to sell them because you really believed in them, you wanted to keep them for the long term, but you also wanted to have money to go do something else with in life. You could go take the loan on that, come back, 3 years later or whatever, pay it back, and now you have all your Ethereum that you believe is going to appreciate in value. In fact, it appreciating in value might even allow you to pay your loan off too, without you even having to pay any money. Not financial advice, don't take my word on it, but I'm just here to explain to you guys how this stuff works, okay? And all that's done from a smart contract. So if the code allows those conditions to be met, it's going to be fulfilled, okay? If the code doesn't allow them to be met, it's not going to get filled. So another reason why that's good is like person A, like anybody can contribute to these loans or borrow from them, and you can contribute to them and you can gain yield. So like person A can give up like stable coins and gain yield. Like they can lend you yours and you can borrow from them, and they can hold the platform, holds your collateral, and you don't know who each other are and blah, blah, blah. You never know, right? You're never going to know who the other person is. That's might be, in fact, your money might get loaned out to like 6 different people. Okay. But the point is that they're going to receive that interest. There's not any kind of like all these crazy fees that are associated with loans from a traditional bank that you go in and out of and sign papers 1,000 times and this and that and that and this. And this guy's got to get this percentage of it and that and that. Plus, it's permissionless, which is the most important part. And didn't focus on that. But I want you guys to understand that it is permissionless, okay? Max says, this year's forehead wrinkles are next year's cyber yachts. Yes, indeed. Thank you for teaching me, mate. You're welcome, Christian Soto. Tom says, come on, DeFi is really degenerate finance. I will definitely get Jeffrey and I a shirt. Indeed. Inflation is expense. 48% CC interest. Yeah. Inflation is expensive. 40% credit. 48%? What the fuck? Is that real, Tom? Is there credit cards that are 48% interest? Are you for real? Dog, fuck that. Celsius loans are personal loans, right? Yes, I believe so. They're just like fully collateralized personal loans. They're not like actual, they're not actually like DeFi, right? Antonio says, hello, friends. Sean Staz in the house. What is up, dude? Good to see you in there, Sean. Hope you and Alyssa are doing okay over there. Tom says, stablecoins can just be terminated. Stablecoins can just be termed as value placeholders because that's all they essentially do. Yeah, exactly. Terra and Frax. Yeah. Terra and Frax. Frax is like a hybrid between UST and USDC. And then also like, well, another thing too is like platforms like Terra and then also like DAI, they use like, there's actually other stable coins in there, which at that point, it's not anything techie or code related. So like that's a little bit above my head, but like I've heard some things about that that kind of didn't make sense. But anyway, Javi Phoenix says, hello. Good to see you in the hoose, my friend. Good to see you in the hoose. All right, guys. So that was number 2. Number 3, decentralized exchanges. Okay. DEXs. You guys are probably familiar with like Uniswap. That was the biggest, the big boy, the number 1. And you can think of that as like a foreign exchange. So let's just say you're an American and you go to France for vacation and you need their currency to exchange value over there. You don't have any because you have United States dollars. Well, if you're an American, fortunately for you, most places take the US dollar. But what if it was vice versa? If you have to go to one of these places that is a currency exchange and they're an intermediary, they'll trade you currency for another currency. But because you're just in some other country and you just want to be able to transact in their country, they charge an absurd amount, sometimes like 15-20%, because they just take advantage of people. That's what they do. Plus, you have to have a human there to do it. And at the same time, like you have to physically go in somewhere, right? So that's a barrier to entry from having an exchange of value. Like it requires people and an entity. And I would say I would still say that that's not trustless, because like, what if you don't know the currency rate? Maybe they're just giving you a piece of paper. Maybe you don't even have access to a phone because you're like, you're someone from a country that doesn't have phones. Like you're one of the people that this technology was created for to make that better, and you don't have that. And I mean, they could just be lying to you, right? So I would say that it's trustless. I would say, or it's not trustless, right? Whereas a decentralized exchange, a DEX, okay, They are trustless and also permissionless. Anybody can go and use this. All you have to do is log in. Well, you don't really log in. You just connect, right? And instead of like having this like kind of like treasury, which I guess like a foreign exchange, they have to have like a treasury, right? They have to have their own surplus of whatever currency that it's being exchanged. DEXs use what's called pools, liquidity pools, and that's where users can all pool their funds together. And like if I were to go on Uniswap and like trade token A for token B, most of the time you're not literally trading like token A for token B. There is a route. There's actually a route that'll usually show you on the bottom, but they move through these pools. Just essentially, let's just say that people pool their money together, and the way that you can write with the algorithm, it works out. And instead of these people taking 15 to 20% fee, DEXs, the liquidity pools usually take like a fraction of a percent. Okay. So when the people that are actually able to contribute to that can actually earn part of that percent or earn that percentage, and they get benefited from it, and they're also benefiting you. So there's no intermediary. Everybody is allowed to transact, and everybody on the planet, no matter if you're from a hut in Africa, as long as you have access to internet, or if you're from like a castle in Transylvania, you have access from internet. Nobody's barred out. Everybody's allowed to do it. Everybody can benefit from it in either way. Okay. And another big part about this decentralized exchanges is that like the government can't come in and just be like, we're going to stop you guys from trading Bitcoin anymore. Stop selling Bitcoin. Like they can't do that because it's already out there. It's on the blockchain. Good luck. Have fun. Have fun trying to do that. Okay. So it is also censorship resistance. Okay. Or censorship resistant. Blah. That was 3. Number 4, insurance. Insurance that is not done with an insurance company, an intermediary. You probably can already assume how that would save money because there's not 1,000 people that a company has to pay. It's just a protocol. It's just a piece of code, bro. Just a piece of code. And it can actually fairly charge people for insurance policy as opposed to the insane rates that insurance policies in traditional finance charge, right? Doesn't require a middleman. It can just be done with code. All right. I won't spend a lot of time on that one because I don't think it's that important yet so far because we really don't have a lot of like blockchain insurance things that actually work really good yet or have been a lot of used. So won't spend too much time on that. And then this next one we won't spend too much time on either, but that's margin trading. You can do margin trading the same way that you could with centralized finance permissionlessly. Okay. As long as you have whatever collateral is required, as opposed to like taking out that loan like you would for a normal margin trade, you don't have to worry about it. You can just use your collateral. Okay. So the whole point of this stream tonight, guys, is that there's a lot of value in this, even if it doesn't seem that valuable, which is the reason why there's literally hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into it from investors around the world. Okay. I don't think we've even begun to like actualize the amount of value that is in it. Like I think 5-10 years down the road, we'll be like, whoa, that was insane that we used to not have that. Like it's just going to be like one of those things that you just like, you won't be able to believe that you didn't have that. But and yeah, like some of them, the newer ones, they get hacked, they get broken down, they have issues. People use exploits because we're still kind of new at this. We don't know 100% the right way. Do it with everything. Now there's a lot of things that are already like we pretty much already know how to do them correctly and not incorrectly and make them kind of like make them the right way. Make them the right way. We'll just say that. Ashley Schaefer, BMW, in the hoose says, good evening, Supercoders. Good evening, Ashley Schaefer, BMW. Rio Pearson says, late to the show. Good night, everyone. Yes, a good night it is indeed. All right, fellas, that was my explanation of DeFi. And like, there's a lot of benefits to this that I didn't say because I think they kind of go without saying. And I don't believe that it would be proper to say that on the YouTubes. But anyway, I think you guys get the point. Like, if you are one of those individuals and you value your sovereignty, you don't want to have to be at the beck and call and the whims of Big Daddy GOV or the BANKS, then yet another problem in life solved with code. It's just lines of code, bro. And that is, after all, why they hate it so much, because they're getting beat up by just lines of code. I hope you guys learned something tonight. That's all I have. I love you guys, as always. See ya.